try the second question on this page here. Let's see how we go about it. So I'm going to try and list down all the variables I've got here. So EV invests 1200 US, so that's present value is 1200. Interest rate is R, we don't know what it is. Compounded monthly, so K is 12. And money doubles, so the final value we're after is 2400 and N is 10. So we've got the compound interest formula again. We're going to use that, so let's just substitute the numbers in. Brackets, this is 1 plus R, we don't know what R is, and this is 100 times by K, and then this is K, which is again, K is 12 compounding periods times 10 years. Okay, so we've basically got to solve that equation. So let's reach for our calculator, and let's go try and n-solve. Menu, algebra, numerical solve. Let's just type in this equation, 2400 is equal to 1200 times by, in brackets, 1 plus fraction button here. And this is R. I'm going to keep the variable R. You can change it to anything you like. R divided by 100 times by the 12. Sidewards, and then that's to the power of 12 times 10. Right arrow, comma, with respect to variable R. Just have a look to see if it looks okay. It looks fine, and press enter. And it says no solution found. So this is one of the breakdowns basically for n-solve, that it finds it very difficult to actually solve this equation for R. So there is one way around it is to actually try and solve it using a bit of regular algebra. But another way around is actually to think about a graph and using a table of values. So if I just write over here, y equals 1200 times by 1 plus R over 100 times 12 into 12 times 10, and y is f1 of x equals all of this. If I try and type that in as a graph, then what I have to do is find out for which particular value of R will I get a y value of 2400. Okay, so the best thing to do is just illustrate it trying to do it on a graph. Let me just make this a little bit bigger, TI Nspire, so we can have a good look at it. And now let's dock, insert a graph. Okay, so in the function plotter, I'm going to type in 1200, which was the present value, times by, open bracket, 1 plus R. Well, this time R is the variable on the x-axis, so I'm actually going to type in x. If you're unsure about that, look at the formula again. Back over here, 1 plus x over 100 times 12. And then let's just have a little fraction here. This is 100 times by 12. Again, you can work that out if you like. And this is to the power of 12 times 10. 12 times 10. When I press enter, you don't really see anything there because you have no idea where this graph is, where this graph appears. If you do Control T, you can get the table of values. Now let's think about what this table of values is. These values of x are the interest rate. So if R, the interest rate, is 0, then the final value, the y value, is going to be 1200, which is the same as your present value. So if you get no interest, then obviously your investment doesn't grow at all. Now these are all the different R values. And over here, in this column here, these are the outputs, these are the final values. So what we have to do is just scroll down and find when does our final value become bigger than 2400. Well, you can see it's somewhere between 6% and 7%. So somewhere between 6% and 7%. Okay, so how do we actually decide if it's actually 6 or if it's actually 7? Well, this is where we could actually do with seeing the graph. And so just have a little look. 6 and 7 is here. So we're going to go back to the graph. I'm going to click on the graph itself. I'm going to do Control G. I'm going to type in f of 2 equals 2400. And I'm going to change the scales. So I'm just going to menu, window zoom, window settings. So the X value is the percentage rates. So I'm going to go from -3% to 16%, 17%. The Y value is the final value of your investment. Now I know I need to go up to here on the Y maximum. I need to go up to about 2,400. So let me get to 2,500. Okay, so it looks quite complicated, but let's unpack it. The blue line is your first equation you typed in. The red line is 2,400, and the intersection point is what we're after. Menu, analyze graph, intersection, and we have to search a little bit before, a little bit after, and here is the value we want. When the interest rate is 6.95%, we get a final value of 2,400. So it's a way around using nsolve, because nsolve doesn't seem to want to work for this particular question. So we plot recap, f1 of x is equal to 1200 times by 1 plus x over 100 times 12. I'll put 1200 here, the power of 120. And if you compare this function that we're putting as a graph, and you compare it with the compound interest formula, then what we're saying is that on the y-axis, we are plotting the final value. So we want to know, when does the actual graph have a final value of 2,400. So then we decided that we would plot f2 of x is equal to 2,400, and we would find where graph 1 intersects with graph 2. We had to change the scaling on the graph, obviously, to find out that particular point. But if you do Control T, you get that nice table of values coming out, and that really helps you zoom in on what the correct particular value might be.